Hello students, in this video we're going to look at some basics of adding audio to our game. So again, I have our base project here that we have been working with, and we're going to do two things. The first one will be add a basic sound effect to collecting the coin, and the second will be looking at adding some background music to our game. Now again, this is, as most of these have been, a very basic introduction. There is a lot more that you can do with audio, including audio 3D that allows you to have sort of spatial awareness of where sounds are coming from, but we will look at the absolute basics today. So the first thing is we will need to add some sounds into our program. So in my assets folder, and I've got an audio folder, I have two files at the moment. The first one, which is called collect coin in this case, and I'll put up the attributions to this on the video in a moment, is going to be our sound effect for when we collect a coin. And this second one here, monkey spinning, again, I didn't pick the name. This is a piece of free to use music that I found online. Again, I'll put the attribution up here on the screen, but it's just some music that we can put in the background. Now, it's important to know one thing at the moment, and that is with Godot, at least at the time of the recording of this, we can't use MP3 files, and a lot of things you will find online are MP3, and that is simply for licensing purposes. MP3 as a format requires technically a license to be paid to use it, and Godot does not pay that license, and we are not going to pay that license either. So I'm using OGG, okay, which is a free to use format. So you can find plenty of easy conversions from MP3 to OGG, for example. If you found something only in MP3 and you want to use, it's very, very quick and easy to convert that, which is actually what I did here. These were originally MP3s and I've converted them to OGG. Now, the other thing you want to know, that when you import audio, it by default imports in a way that will always loop. Okay, now the way to get around that is, once you've imported the first time, I'm going to click on this coin. So for example, I don't want the coin to loop when it plays. So I choose it first of all here in my assets. I come up to the top to the import tab, and you can see here this loop is ticked. So that brings it in a way that will always loop. So I'm going to want to untick that and choose the re-import button there. So this is now set to not loop. The monkey spinning, the background music, actually I'm okay with that looping, so I'm going to leave that the way. If I actually play this level long enough that my music gets to the end, I want it to just continue again. But that is the way you set the looping. It's not a property over here in the inspector. It is done in the import stage, or at least again at the version of Godot that I'm using here, which is 3.5 something. So that might change in the future, but for now the loop option is part of the import, so make sure you keep an eye on that. Okay, going back to our scene. So the first one we're going to do now is the coin. So if we go to our coin scene, so in this case down here in the coin, and we look at the script for that, we can see that currently when the coin or body enters the coin, we check if it's the player, and if it is, we collect the coin here. So this is going to be the part of the script that we're going to make some modifications to. But before we can do that, we have to put a audio player in. So let's add a new node called audio stream, and we'll put the player 2D. That's perfectly fine. Now you of course can rename this, but since I'm only going to have one audio sound here, I'm just going to leave it as is. Over here in the inspector, we have a stream or a location. This is basically the file that we need, and the easiest way is to drag from your resources into that audio stream. Now you can also change things like the volume, the pitch, and whether it's playing automatically and so forth. So these can all be set here, but of course they can also be set in code, and that's going to be important, especially for our background music later on. But right now we have an audio stream that when it's told to play, will play this sound effect. So let's now go back to our script and have a look. So what we want is to, in here, when we have detected, yes, we are collecting a coin, we want to play that audio stream. Now, because it is a child of the coin, we can access that audio stream node by using the $, and you can see it's actually come up for us, and we are going to use the .play method. Okay, so If we play our game now, what should happen, and I'll tell you right now it won't, but let's see what should happen, we think, is to play a sound when we collect a coin. And I collected a coin, but it didn't seem to play. Now, I wonder if anyone can already tell me why that is. Well, hopefully what you said is that we are playing the coin, but then we are immediately deleting this coin. Essentially, the coin has no opportunity to actually play. So let's see if that is in fact true. So if we actually just comment out this cue free for a moment and replay our game, when we collect that coin, we should hear a sound effect. And we have, all right? But of course, the coin hasn't disappeared, okay? And that is a problem. We're no longer getting rid of that coin. So now let's have a look at what else we can do. So one way around this, and there are multiple ways you could do this, is that we're going to now link into a signal of the audio stream player that will detect when the particular sound being played finishes, okay? So we're just going to go into our audio stream player and choose the nodes, and we'll see that there is this signal called finished. So let's link that to a script. We can just use the default here is fine within our coin. So now down here, we have something that's going to run when the sound effect finishes. And you can probably guess what we're going to do is move our cue free to that part. So our sound will get played. When it finishes, this gets triggered, which of course means that we delete the coin so that we can't play it again. Let's see if that works for us. Okay, there's a little delay because of course we are waiting for that sound to fully finish. So there's a split second where I might be able to, yep, I could possibly run in and out of a coin. So that may not be perfect. All right, there could be a better way. One thing might be to edit the sound so that there is definitely no chance of it having some blank sound at the end of it, which I think it actually does. But there are also some other ways. But for most basic way, this will work. So let's leave it like that for now. You can investigate some better alternatives to what to do there. Okay. Let's now look at putting some music in our background. Now back in our main scene, so our level scene, we're going to need to add the background music in, and we will again add a audio stream, but we're going to not choose the 2D. We're just going to choose the most basic audio stream player. Now the reason for that is audio stream player has sort of positional elements to it. So at the point that you start playing that sound, if you were to move your character, and you can try this out for yourself if you'd like, following exactly the same instructions we're about to do, but just by using the player 2D, as you move left or right, you're going to actually hear the music fade out of position, basically, because as if the sound is playing at a certain point in your game physically, and as you move away from it, of course, you change the way that sound plays. So again, you might want to investigate that just out of interest, or it might be what you want. But for now, we want just a normal stream player that is not going to change. In the previous part with the coin, we used to play a 2D, and that was fine because the chances are you're not moving away from the coin that quickly, but you also might want to change that to just a basic audio stream as well. But other than that, it's essentially the same. We're going to bring the money spinning audio into our stream. We can set the volume and pitch and stuff like that, but we're going to choose the autoplay because we want that to start as soon as this level basically starts. So let's have a look at that. So you can now hear the audio playing, and if I move around my game, you can hear the coins over top, and that seems to be working properly. But of course, the audio, and I'm just going to stop it for a minute, just mainly so you can hear me. The audio maybe is a little bit loud. So that's where things like this volume property come in. So 0 basically means play at the volume, the standard volume, if you like. So if we bring this down, and let's make this maybe a -5. And I'm going to do this while the game's playing, actually. So here is the game playing. So this was 0. You can probably hear it. It's a bit louder. If I go maybe -5, hopefully you heard that go down. If I maybe change that to -10, that's quite a bit softer. And if I now go as low as say -15, it's pretty soft, okay? As well as obviously, I might even go as far as -20 actually. That's reasonably soft. So that value I'm changing here within the programming environment. But of course, you can do the same thing with commands in your script. So you might be able to add some, say, extra key combinations in for volume up and down, and that could maybe increase or decrease the volume by, say, a 5 or a -5. You can also do things like playing on and off. You can do pausing. So if you want to have like P for pause your music, you can have that toggle. So you can hear it's off now and it's back on. So you can easily have a pause music or stop playing music button within your game. So there's quite a bit you can do even just with a basic audio player. But that's a very quick look at how you can add some audio, both sound effect style audio as well as music audio to your game. Now, as always, I hope this has helped you for our classes. If you need help in class, please make sure you're asking. If you're watching this outside of one of my classes, and again, I hope somehow it's helped you. Of course, these are very basic introductions to ideas, but I do hope they've helped you in some way.